Good morning or afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeremy Walsh, and I'm the Director of Support, Training, and Documentation for Bni Connect. I would like to welcome everybody to the webinar today. Today's webinar is on the online slips program. Basically, all of those wonderful referral slips and one-to-one slips, and thank you for closed business slips and CEU slips that we pass at our meetings on a weekly basis. We can now do all of that data entry online. And along with that comes a ton of other benefits, like being able to track the details of all of those transactions from the time that you submit them, and even more and more throughout time to be able to go back and look at them, look at the results, and track the even the progress of them with your referral partners. The great thing about this is that it really does help to speed up the referral process as well as the accountability process of referrals. So that's what we're going to be talking about today in today's webinar. Before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping things, and the first of which is that this is a live webinar. So if you have any questions whatsoever, please do just type your question into the question panel. We'll be able to answer those questions as we're going through the material today. We're scheduled for approximately 30 minutes worth of content today. Usually try to end right at the bottom of the hour and make sure that we are respectful of everybody's time so you can get back to your busy lives and your busy work days. That being said, this is what I do all day, every day. I answer questions about Bni Connect. So if you do have any questions, just know that I am always happy to stay on these calls as long as necessary. So if you have questions about the online slips or just about anything else in Bni Connect, I would be happy to answer those questions. In addition, today's webinar is being recorded, as are all of our webinars. A couple of places where you will be able to find the recordings. The first of which is if you click on this question mark in the upper right-hand corner here of Bni Connect, so right below where it says your name and then regional website, and then it has the question mark, or go directly to support.bniconnect.com. This will give you a list of all the upcoming webinars, and then also our recorded webinars. All of our May webinars will be in this May 2015 article. And here you can see we have some of the recordings already uploaded, and today's webinar I'm hoping to get uploaded as quickly as possible when we are done. You can also go directly to our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. And up here we have a ton of material. So not just all of the recorded webinars, but we also have things like educational moments. So short 3 to 5 minute videos that you can watch on specific topics. All right, so let's go back here. And what we're going to be looking at, as I said today, is the online slips. So first of all, I know that we have some people on the call with us today that will be coming live into the system in the next upcoming weeks from Australia and New Zealand and Canada, a couple of regions here in the United States, the Maryland, Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia, and Chicago regions. So for you, if this is your first time seeing Bni Connect, just know that this is the home page. So once you log into Bni Connect from any of the regional websites or even redirected from bni.com or going directly to Bni Connect, this is the page that you'll see when you log in. Now there's some great stuff right here on the home screen. First of all, you'll see the My Bni Business Report. Now, for me, I'm a member. I have been a member in Bni since 2002, and I remember before Bni Connect, if I wanted to have a look at my statistics, I used to either have to beg my vice president to print out a report for me, or I had to wait, sometimes 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month for them to bring copies of the report to our chapter meeting. Now I can log into Bni Connect anytime and view this My Bni Business. And this is basically just a snapshot of the POMS report. So we have the referrals received, thank you for closed business, referrals given, visitors, one-to-ones, and CEUs. So all of that information is there right on the home screen. In addition to that information, there is a number on here that we have never ever tracked before in Bni. And that is on the top line of the My Bni Business Report. There is a number called revenue received to my business. Now, typically in BNI, we only track the thank you for closed business given. And the thank you for closed business given is when, let's say that I have a referral for Steve. That referral turns into money for Steve. It turns into closed business. He will submit a slip and thank me for generating that business. So I will get that as a thank you for closed business given in my report. However, for Steve, there was no way to track how much money he had made through BNI. Well, once you start submitting your thank you for closed business slips online through BNI Connect, we'll start to track really your return on investment. So we'll start to track that revenue received to my business, which is really just a sum of all of the thank you for closed business slips that you input. But we're able to do it in a way that still keeps it anonymous because we don't track that information directly in the POMS report. Now at the bottom of the page, there is a number of other activities. So each one of these links down here is an activity. You'll see the first four at the top say submit. So we can submit a thank you for closed business, a referral, a one-to-one, or a CEU slips. That is the equivalent of going to your chapter meeting, filling out a piece of paper and turning it into your vice president. Rather than fill out a piece of paper, we can do that online in BNI Connect. And one of the great things about it is that when you fill out the slip online, we're able to save that information for you pretty much forever. As opposed to if you were to fill out a thank you for closed business or a one-to-one or a referral slip, you pass it in at your chapter meeting. Once you give that to your vice president, that slip is gone. You don't have the details of that slip anymore. So if somebody comes to you 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, a month later, 6 months later, 2 years later, and says, hey, do you remember that referral that you gave to me, John something or other? Do you happen to have the phone number for John? I wanted to call him and look up that information. When you do that referral online, both you and your referral partner now can hold on to that information in the long term. And it's the same thing for the one-to-one slips and the CEU slips. So let's take a look at how these slips work. So first things that we usually do is we have referrals for each other. So if I had a referral for somebody in my chapter, what I would do is click on the Submit Referral Slips. And all I need to do, and hopefully this looks like a familiar form to you, it is the same form that we would fill out at a chapter meeting. So I just need to select somebody from my chapter. So let's say I'm going to select Mike Moffitt. He is the commercial painter in our chapter. And this referral is to the local Starbucks who needed a new paint job on their building. And let's say that this is a tier 2, it's an outside referral. So everybody knows the difference between an inside and outside referral. Inside referral is when if I was referring myself to get my house painted or my office painted, if I was referring myself to Mike Moffitt, I would choose a tier 1 inside referral. If I am referring him to somebody else that is not me, then I would choose an outside referral. I have given Jim Mike's card, and this is at One Coffee Way in Wakefield, Rhode Island. Jim's phone number, 123-456-7890. Jim's email address, and any comments. The Wakefield store needs a facelift. Jim is looking for quotes. I can then rate this on a temperature scale of 1 to 5. So I'm going to call this one a 3. It's going to be right middle of the road there. And then when I'm ready, what I could do is I can click on Save and New. So if I have multiple referrals that I need to input, I can do all of them one after the other after the other. This will just pull up a new slip for me. If I click Submit, this will just turn this one in, and it will bring me back to the home screen. So I'm going to go ahead and click Submit. And it is now turning this slip in. It's now saving the slip. And the best part about this is that Mike will now receive an email notification letting him know about that referral. So this is a notification that I just received a few days ago. This was a new referral from somebody in my chapter. His name is Jason Souza. He entered this referral online. I immediately got the referral, saw that it was rated 5 on the temperature scale, and it was for Stephanie Ashworth, and I gave her a call about that job. The other thing is that it had Jason's contact information right here in the email. So if I needed to follow up with Jason, I didn't have to go looking for his phone number or for his email address. It was right here. And the great part about these is that most people receive emails on their phone nowadays. So if you receive this on your phone, you should be able to just click on the phone number and start dialing right away. Again, this helps to shorten the referral curve, because you don't have to wait until your chapter meeting to pass that referral. And you don't have to go looking up the person's name and phone number and contact information. You can just put it in once and it starts to happen immediately. Now, when you submit a referral slip, you'll notice that the numbers up top don't change. So my referrals given did not change from 49 to 50. That's because what we're doing is we're putting them into the queue for this week's meeting. So my chapter happens to meet on Thursdays. So what I'm doing is, as I'm entering my slips for the week, they're going into like a kind of a virtual queue or a virtual bowl or basket for this week's meeting. And only after the meeting has completed and the vice president has gone in and recorded attendance and saved the POMS report, only then will any of these numbers change. But one thing that does happen is that as soon as I click submit and that email goes out, it should immediately appear in one of my reports down here at the bottom, the Review My Slips reports. So if I click on Review My Referral Slips, this will show me all of the slips, all the details of the slips that I've turned in. By default, it's going to show me the last 1 month of slips, but I can change this to anything I want. I can go back to the beginning of time if I want to, in order to look at slips that I've submitted. This will only show slips that I've submitted online. So if you're still using paper slips, they will not appear here. But you can see here that this particular slip that I just input for Mike Moffitt is there. We'll see that it has all of the details, has Jim's email address, the comments, the referral temperature, and finally the POMS status. Now you'll notice that the POMS status here says draft. And draft means that, just as I said before, the vice president has not submitted the POMS report. So once they've submitted the POMS report, this will change from draft to completed. As a matter of fact, if I go back, let me go back a little further and look at some reports from earlier in the year. And we can see this is all the referral slips that I've submitted so far this year. And you'll see that all of them except for this one say completed. So that means that our vice president has completed that POMS report. They're now part of the official statistics for the year. So if I were to go and look at a summary POMS report, they would appear as part of my referrals. And once our meeting has passed this week and our vice president does the report, this will change from draft to completed. Let's take a look at some of the other reports as well. So we also have the ability to track our thank you for closed business. So if I have a thank you for closed business, I can submit that slip here. I just, again, need to choose somebody from my chapter. So let's say that we have Seth Jacobson. He's the photographer in my chapter, and he referred some people to me. And let's say that that business closed and it was $250. And this was new business. It was an outside referral. And this was for Jane Smith. Now, the great thing about these thank you for closed business slips is that you can track as much information as you want to about them. The only thing that will show up in the Palms report, and the only thing that the vice president will be able to see or anybody else can see, is the amount and who you thanked. They won't see that it's from you, so it is anonymous, and they won't see the comments. So the comments are really just for you. For your note keeping, for you tracking that information into the future. Once I'm satisfied with this, I can go ahead and click submit, or again, save and new. If I have my QuickBooks open and I'm just going through all of my thank you for closed business for the month and thanking all of my referral partners, you can do one after the other after the other. And of course, just like with the referral slips, as soon as you submit it, again, the number up here does not change yet, so the revenue received to my business has not changed. However, it will appear in my thank you for closed business slips report. And we can see here, this is the Jane Smith. It is in draft mode still. And I can see it's for $250 to Seth Jacobson. Of course, there's one-to-one slips as well. And when you record a one-to-one slip, it's important to know that both people get credit for the one-to-one. Now, for those of you that are coming in from other countries, from the BNI web regions, this is a little bit different than you're used to. It used to be that both people had to submit the one-to-ones in order to get credit for it, or you would only give credit to one side. In BNI Connect, that is slightly different. Both sides that perform the one-to-one have made an investment, and you will both get credit for it in the Palms report. So that is an important distinction to make. Now, I can choose somebody from my chapter, and that works just as it always does, but let me show you something else as well, and that is that we have the Search Cross Chapter button here. So let's say that there's somebody else in my region. This is limited to just people in your region, but somebody that I had a meeting with, I had a one-to-one with, that I'd like to record that one-to-one with. So what I would do is click on Search Cross Chapter. Now, there's another computer guy in another chapter that I've established a relationship with. You know, we have mostly the same business, but there are certain areas where we complement each other. We help each other out. So I like to meet with him regularly and see how we're both doing. His name is Joe Grimes. Now, I can't remember if it's Joe or Joseph, so I'm just going to put the first couple of letters into his name. And then his last name is Grimes, so just a couple of letters there. And here he is. So he does have it in as Joe instead of Joseph. But I can see he's in the CityBiz chapter and in Excel Tech. So that's the right Joe. I'm going to select him here. It's going to say, are you sure that you want to select this person? I click OK. And now you'll see that Joe is the person that I met with in the list here. The location, the topic of conversations, how can we help each other, and the date that we met. And we met yesterday. So I can fill out this information. Again, click Submit or Save and New. And finally, we have our Review My One-to-One slips. And of course, all of these slips will be there. One of the great things that I love about this particular report is that it does allow you to go back and strategize your one-to-ones. So if you are looking and saying, you're sitting in a chapter meeting, you look across the room and you say, you know what, David and I have not had a whole lot of referrals being passed back and forth in recent months. I wonder why that is. We used to be really good referral partners. Well, if you look back at your one-to-one list, I can see here that I haven't had a one-to-one with Dave in about 3 or 4 months now. I should probably have more regular one-to-ones, especially with the people that are in my contact sphere or the people that are on my power team. So this report really allows you to strategize your one-to-ones. And then finally, we have CEUs. If you are on the call today, make sure that you go in and give yourself 1 CEU credit for being on a BNI webinar today. Or once you come over to BNI Connect, jump in and do that. So I'm going to go ahead and give myself 1 CEU for today's, but if you go to a member success program or a leadership team training, or if you read one of Dr. Meisner's books, make sure you give yourself credit for that as well. And this has now been submitted, and it will appear on my Review My Submitted CEU Slips report. Now, when somebody sends you a referral online through BNI Connect, you'll be able to review those referrals in the Received Referrals report. So if I click on the Received Referrals report, I can choose a date range, and I can go back and view all of the referrals that I've received. So I can go and look up their phone number or their email or who referred them to me. You'll see also on here that I can keep track of a bunch of other information. When did I contact them? What was their interest rating? When did I give them a presentation? The follow-up, and what the status of that is. Now, all of this you can update by using the Referral Tracker sheet. And the Referral Tracker sheet is here. Track your referrals received. This will open up in a new screen, and you can go back and look at referrals for any 3-month time period. And here's a referral, for example, that I received recently. I can click on Edit, and this allows me to do the follow-up. And this is straight out of your Member Success Program. If you remember to your Member Success Program, they have a spreadsheet that shows the tracking sheet for received referrals, and essentially this is what it is. But the nice thing to know is that this status here, closed, new, pending, closed, and no sale, this is a shared status with the person that gave you the referral. So they can look in their referrals given report and see what that status is when you change it. Now, one question I always get asked is, well, what are we supposed to do at the chapter meeting now for recording all this activity online? Why do we even bother having a chapter meeting anymore? Well, you absolutely do want to continue to have your chapter meetings. And we actually, the referral and testimonial part of the meeting should continue exactly as it did before. The only difference is you don't necessarily have paper slips that you need to turn in during this part of the meeting. Because one of the beauties of this program, if we have any vice presidents on the call, you'll really, really appreciate this. But when you submit your slips online through BNI Connect, it's automatically entered into the POMS report for the vice president. Now, coming from a chapter of about 50 members, that saves our vice president about an hour and a half per week. When they had to count up all the referral slips and one-to-ones and everything, had to make piles of paper and count them and enter them into the spreadsheet, that would take anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes. So we just saved, by doing this ourselves in little increments as members, we're saving our vice president between 50 and 90 hours in a year's leadership team time. That makes for a much happier vice president, by the way. So when we get to this part of the meeting, there's a couple of things that you can do, because people always say, well, without the slip, how am I supposed to get the door prize? So you can do that by clicking on Print Your Weekly Slips. And here in the Personal Meeting Activity Sheet, you can print out your slips for the week. And here, this will give me all of the slips that I entered this week. So, for example, I have this referral slip that I entered. And you'll notice that the referral slip is approximately the same shape and size as a regular referral slip. That means that I can take a pair of scissors, cut this out, and turn it in at the chapter meeting and be chosen for the door prize. We also have the other information that's really just organized in list format, because again, because this thank you for closed business is already entered into the POMS report, there's really no need to actually turn a slip in. But it organizes it for us so that we can read it off. So I can stand up and say, I have a referral for Mike Moffat. I can drop that slip in the basket. I can then stand up and say, I have thank you for closed business to Seth for $250. I had a one-to-one with Joe Grimes. I had 6 CEUs this week. And I can also mention any visitors that I had. Now, if you don't want to print out on your own paper, that's perfectly fine. Just take a regular referral slip. You can fill that out. My recommendation is you either write in really big, bold letters on there, entered online, or you put a big X through it. And that way, if you're still doing some paper slips in your chapter, when your vice president comes across that, they'll look at it and say, oh, this one was already entered in BNI Connect. I don't have to count it. And that, my friends, is the online slips here in BNI Connect. Again, the information at the top, this will only be updated on a weekly basis after your meeting. The revenue received to my business is a special field, and it will only start to accrue once you start submitting your thank you for closed business slips online. The rest of the information will be in here based on your past history in BNI, as well as if you're just using paper slips. The bottom portion is if you'd like to start using the electronic slips, you can submit your slips by clicking on submit and then the appropriate slip. You can review all of the details of your slips, again, only if you are submitting online through the Review My Slips. You can print your weekly slips so you can be included for the door prize, and of course you can track your referrals that you received through BNI Connect. So we're almost at the bottom of the hour. What I'd like to do now is to open this up to any questions. Does anybody have any questions on the online slips and referral tracking? Let's see. Judy says, can you edit a slip after you've submitted it? So if you make a mistake, in other words, can you fix that? And the answer to that is absolutely. You can fix it up until the point that the POMS report has been submitted. So as long as it's still in draft mode. So let's say, for example, I had that thank you for closed business slip. So if I go in to review my thank you for closed business slips, and this slip that I passed into Seth Jacobson, actually, that wasn't $250. It was $2,500. So let me go in and fix that while it's still in draft mode here. So if I go up and I go to the top of this report, you'll notice a button that says Edit, Delete, Slips. If I click on this, these are all of the slips that I have in the system that are still in draft mode. So these are all the ones that I just turned in today. So I have this one from Seth Jacobson, and I can go in and click the edit button. And here now I can just fix this and put another 0 after it and submit this, and now that will be updated to 2,500. So Judy, I hope that answers your question. And then I can just close this window and go back. Now, if I rerun this report, we should see Seth Jacobson for $2,500 now. Excellent question. Thank you. All right. Do we have any additional questions? All right. Larry asks, what if you see an error in one of your reports? So I guess you're saying at this top here, the My BNI Business, what if these numbers don't seem to be correct? Well, if you are, I'm not sure if you're one of the regions that are going to be moving into BNI Connect in the upcoming weeks. If so, then the first thing I would do is just talk to your leadership team. There will be a delay, especially with some recent statistics, because you guys have been offline in the other system now for a couple of weeks, and there'll be a transitionary period before the new figures are caught up. So do be patient with that. But in addition to that, what you can do is there is a report here. It's called the My Personal Participation Report, right up here at the top. And if you click this My Personal Participation Report, this will give you the week-by-week activity for your membership for the past year. And what's great about it, it does give you a line by line by line, so week by week. So you can check if you, for example, if you say, you know what, I don't think I was absent 2 times or 3 times over the past year. You can go and look at the individual weeks. So I can look week by week for the last year and say, oh, here's where I was absent. And, you know, I really think I showed up that day, or I think I had a sub, and I could follow up and say, well, maybe the sub didn't show up that day. Or if the numbers appear to be incorrect or the referrals given seem to be incorrect, you can check all of that through this report. So it'll also give you the summary here, number of members that you've sponsored, and the trainings that you've attended. So all of that information is available there in this My Personal Participation Report. So excellent question, Larry. Thank you so much. All right, that was the last question I see on the screen. Do we have any additional questions? While you're thinking of any last minute questions, just a reminder, this is being recorded. It will be made available on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. I would also absolutely love it if you gave us a like up on Facebook, facebook.com/BNI Connect Global. And here we do all sorts of stuff, a lot of webinar reminders and announcements and tips and tricks and all sorts of things up here on our BNI Connect Global site. And finally, a good referral for me. If you found today's webinar helpful, if you find this format to be helpful, our next webinar is going to be this coming Monday. So 6 days from now, we're going to be talking about the chapter web page. This is for webmasters that are looking to be able to update the chapter web pages. And then following that, next Wednesday, the 20th, we're going to be talking about the visitor process. How can you invite visitors? How can you register visitors for an upcoming meeting? And then how can you follow up with visitors after? So that's our 2 webinars next upcoming. A good referral for me is to please let your other chapter members and other people know about these webinars and register early so we know that you're going to be there. Oh, we do have a couple of more questions that have come in from Gary. Let's say Gary says, what if you need to thank someone to a visitor or outside BNI member? As far as passing a referral, you can only pass referrals to other BNI members, only other people in your chapter and other people in your region. So I can only pass referrals, for example, to other members here in Rhode Island. I could not right now pass a referral to somebody in Arizona or Florida or Germany or Canada or anywhere else in the world, just to people in my own chapter and my home region. We're hoping someday that is opened up to the whole world of BNI. We'll see. Now, as far as thank you for closed business, so thank you for closed business. If you have thank you for closed business for a BNI, so let's say that your director consultant passed business to you, or for a visitor, those are always going to be at the bottom of this drop-down list, BNI and visitor. So is that what you were referring to, Gary? And as far as a person not being in the drop-down, so one thing that we do get asked quite often is, we have this new member and they're not in the drop-down, but I have a referral for them. You do have to wait until their paperwork is processed by the regional office or by your chapter in order for them to show up in this list. So once they show up in the list, you'll be able to select them. And you are very welcome. Any additional questions? All right, I do not see any more questions, so what I'm going to do is thank everybody for being here today, and I very, very much look forward to seeing you, hopefully, on a future webinar. Again, thank you so much for being here, and happy connecting.